young fellow got that smoke going out there, and we'll come and do the smoking around that area there. And if anybody's got some flowers or what, I'll ask you to probably lay some of whatever you have around Auntie Fan Koopy's little memorial out there as well, you know, just for our mob. So yeah, I'm just gonna go around, we're gonna do a co-op. Come on. I just want to welcome everybody here. So Bilanggaran Nyondo na beyond my father welcome to the country. Bilanggaran Nyondo na Yalan Nomi of Yidinji elders as well welcome to the country. You know, Yunangara, Yunajinan, Yunajalan. While you're on country, you're standing on country. You know, Malawagoran Nyondo. All the good spirits keep you safe. When you're here on country as well, you know, when we did that ceremony there now for welcome everybody in, Uncle Peter did that dance at Kawal to bring all the good spirits here. And when your smell go onto that smoke, when we welcome you here on country, all our old people know that, you know, they'll keep you safe while you're here on our country. your smell. So one time when you come in here like this here now, you know, you normally put your smell on that smoke by going like this and putting it on here. You take that smell from here underneath your cranial, you know, like underneath your arm, because that's the smelly part of your body. Okay? Unless you put perfume underneath there or something like that. But, you know, put it on here. And also get that smoke and go over you. You know, so like when you come on country, all that smoke and all the old people know you here on country, so you won't get harmed while you're on our country. But so while you're here, you know, and especially with frontier wars that's been happening, you know, we're celebrating, I suppose, our survival and the wars that were fought here on country, the ones that are not spoken about. It's a part of the Australian history. And if Australia wants us to be part of the Australian history, they have to recognize the bad with the good. There's not so many good though, but there is a lot of bad. And the thing about it is when we look at what has happened in the past, we talk about it not to have people feel bad about it. We don't want anybody to be bad about it. We want people to recognize that this has happened. It's a truth. It's not an untruth. It's not a story that we are making up. It's a story that's happened as a part of Australia history, and it's a true story. If you go down a little bit down here, place they call Battle Camp, and it was the first time that when the white man came here, they tried to kill our families off, and our families fought them, so they actually didn't come in here. That first time was with the beach to Mare fishermen. And then they went out to Green Island. And some of the people that they took from our mob actually killed some of them and swam back. If you know where Green Island is, that's a long way, and they still got back home. But then another person came here by the name of Sachs, and it was in 1870s. Cairns became Cairns City in 1876, only 142 years ago, or 43 actually, if you actually add it all up. I'll put it this way, if my dad was still alive today, he'd be 96. So when you look at that and you take 96 away from 143, he was here at times when a lot of stuff was happening on country. And then when you take into account my grandfather, who was born here on country, you know, in the 1900s as well, at the first time white man came here, and my great-grandfather was born before the white man came here. And then when you look at my great-great-grandfather, Jiraju, my young fella son he had named after, he was born at a time when Cook arrived down on the other side, down in New South Wales. So when you see that we didn't know who these white men were, and we call them Katja. Katja in our language means ghost. We call them ghosts because they were pale like a ghost. But our story tells about our old people will come back in their spirit form. And we thought that they were good people. But the people that came weren't very good at all. So when we look at our history and what we talk about here as Gimuy, what we call this place, can you say Gimuy?
Gimuy.
Which is the slippery blue fig tree, and that's why we planted a lot of the fig tree that you see on the esplanade and around here. Because we use them for blankets, we use them to make clothes out. A lot of people think we never wear clothes, but we had blankets in that as well. We had houses that were here that got knocked down to show that this place was supposed to be terra nullius. Nobody lived here. We had people killed down at battle camp just for fighting their existence here to live on Saigon country. When Ferdinand Sachs came here, he came across our ceremonial site, and there was a very important burial happening at that time. And he and his crew took one of our ancestors out of his ceremonial burial places and sold him. And he sold him to the German museum. 2 years ago, me and Uncle and quite a few of the other elders, my brother here, Henry as well, we went over there and brought our old grandfather back. He was the ancestral king or chief from this country. And we will be bringing him back because currently we don't have a keeping place here in Cairns at the moment. So he's currently down in Brisbane having a holiday. But we're going to bring him back, and when we do bring him back, we want everybody to be there to welcome him back home. Yeah. And that ceremony will be a welcoming back home ceremony. And that old fella, he survived 2 wars. The 2 wars that everybody in Australia will be celebrating tomorrow. He survived when Munich, and especially Berlin was flattened to the ground. He survived. Then when they moved him to the Munich museum and they flattened Munich in that war, he survived that war. So when we went over and picked him up and brought him back home, he was happy. We were happy. Spirit from this land are happy because they know he coming back. And when he come back, we all gonna be happy. But today, we gotta remember that what he went through was the war on this country to try to keep these people alive and safe on this country. We say Burmba for home here. This is our home, Burmba. Can you say Burmba? Burmba. Burmba. Burmba Najan. My home. You know, this one here, you know, Janna, Jalan Jinna. You know, our foot stand on this country strong, just like the old people before. So when you look at some of the places around here, and I'm going to get Uncle Peter to talk soon about some of the things that from his family have happened. There's a place called Skeleton Creek. Do we know where Skeleton Creek is?
Yep.
As you head towards Edmonton, you'll go past Skeleton Creek. That creek we call Banajabagara. And Skeleton Creek is its name now. And the reason why it's called Skeleton Creek is because heads were put on stakes. Our old people's head, our great-grandfathers and grandfathers' heads were put on stakes. Even the young kids' heads were put on stakes at this place. You know, when those things happen, we should be angry. But we're not angry. We're sad. But we want people to recognize that this has happened and we don't want it to happen again. But those old people who lost their lives, their spirit lives on in us. And their spirit also lives on in people who come to this country and want to keep this place safe. So when we look at the massacres at Skeleton Creek, where we lost close to a couple of thousand people, I went to the British Museum, and in the museum, not actually in the museum, but underneath in the basement of the museum, they have 2,000 of our shields. They have 2,000 of our swords, and they also have 2,000 of our spears. Our old people who lost their lives, because when you receive a shield, you receive it as part of your initiation to become a young warrior and a young man. That shield never leaves your side when you are given it. So for it to be just lying on the ground, as they said in their history books, is telling another lie about this country. Those shields are over there. Some have bullet holes in them. And to see it is to believe it and know that the stories that our grandfathers told and our fathers have told and our mothers and our grandmothers have told are true. They did not want us to come into Cairns. They wanted to keep us out of Cairns. So when you see some of the places like the creeks, like Blackfella Creek, because us blackfellas camped out there, it's not because we wanted to camp out there, it's because we wasn't allowed to come into Cairns. The last known fight around Cairns was about it was unsafe to go past Applin Street because of the Yidinji, because we were fighting to try to get our land back. We had massacres not only just here, but down at the ceremony site around an area people love to go that they call Goldborough Valley. There's a well-known cockatoo ceremonial site, Mongalai, where everybody who was in ceremony was killed at that site. Then we go up to Ball Pocket, up to the Atherton Tableland, and families were killed there as well. A number of them ran down into Cairns, and they were still killed while they were here at Skeleton Creek. Bones Knob, up around Atherton, Tolga. All of our old people were marched off the hillside down the cliff, and all the young ones as well. This is in not just our history, but it's also in the history of Australia. It's well documented. It's been documented as well in the conspiracy of silence. It was also documented on blood, on the wattle, from Henry Reynolds, and not just only Timothy Bottoms with the conspiracy of silence. Up around Davies Creek Falls, some kids and babies were actually buried in the sand with their heads showing. I know it's gruesome, and I'm not saying this to make anybody feel bad. It's something that's happened, it's in our history, it's part of our history. Our people died on this country, on this soil, on this land, and we are still here. But those memories still live on. Some people tell us we should get over it. Some people say we wasn't there. It was not us. We wasn't there. And I say to some of those people, were we fighting the wars over in Germany? Were we fighting the wars over in Poland? Were we fighting all these wars on foreign soil in Turkey? We weren't. But why are we remembering them? Because, as it says, lest we forget, which is, we shall always remember those who have fallen. We weren't there, but remember those who have fallen. Why aren't we allowed to remember those who have fallen on this soil, who fought for this country here? You know, Wiradjuri mob and that down there, you know, all the mob down the country down there, Euro mob and as well. You know, they got the first onslaught of European culture and European war, the white man's war. We didn't start this war, but we remember it. Everyone that's standing here today, you never started the war that happened over in Europe, but you remember it. And we're always told to remember it. So this ceremony here is about remembering our fallen. And if anyone says anything about get over it, I wasn't there, tell them get over the Anzacs, because we weren't there either. You know? But as the saying goes, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You know? All of them, they still here, their families are still there. Kanju, you know? All those families are there. All of them are here. And we still survive today. So today when you hold this blood on the feather that we commemorate today and hold, you know, in peace and solidarity about what happened to a family that were lost at the ceremonial site, at the White Cockatoo ceremonial site. You know, remembrance of all of them. And as we celebrate their struggles, but also celebrate our survival, today we talk about that existence. I'm going to hand it over to Uncle Peter to talk about what happened in 1900. And he went through ceremony from his father and the other grandfathers who were there conducting ceremony. You might see my great-grandfather, Yini, who was given the king plate, King of Cairns. Uncle Peter's grandfather is that old father's brother. And they both were conducting ceremony outside for a site they call Mawa, or Jankara. And at that site at Jankara was where the ceremony happened. And he can talk about that from handed down story and experience. Don't shy off with the rain because it heals our spirit as well as the smoke. No?
Like my son said, Gulangara, welcome to our New Zealand land. It's good that we came through to tell you these stories. My mother, Trev, come from there, Cloncurry. She walks from there. And they were running, you know, like stopping and he's ever getting chased. So I come from that womb. I'm here today talking, you know. My granddad, Charlie Ide Boa, he had a son named Richard Ide. He named Boomy, so I'm Boomy. They shot Granddad in the toe there. Shot him once there. And you just imagine getting one bullet there, that's good enough. But if I didn't get for you to hit him with that bullet now, you might have knocked him right out, you know. Tank they hit him there. And I thought they hit him in Grayson Cross there too. Because I got a photo of him. He never said that on it. But yeah, I want to thank you lot for coming along today. See, when we did the main road, we found all them bones there. You know? So they had to have a elder like me. Not all of me and I, but you're going to have somebody there to talk, to dance it. They cut them bones, and we had some ladies out front. So we fixed it all up on the main roads there now, and that's good. Yeah, well, we got history here. We're still alive. My kids here, son's here. We're still alive. We come true. We still do our dance. We make digil, we make that shield, we make Wamra spear. That's what we're all about in our land. We never got a gun to, we've been correcting each other, you know. If we do wrong, well, you got to go see the elders, you know. Today we got a team that it's still in me. I come from that womb, I come from my dad, you know. And they tell us, they never tell us in a home, when we go camping, they give you the lot. They tell you what happened and what's been going on, you know, with their life. And sometimes at home when I lay down, or sometimes I've been breaking up, but I'm feeling good and I'm feeling strong, and to tell you this story that, so they've been asking me about Cloncurry, and I said, well, that's a long walk. I'm flattered walking from here to down the wharf there now, and going down to get a bread, you know. And Mum tell us all this story. Last time we went with Mum when she was alive, I must have been with Porty and Anthony. We went to Georgetown, I think. Somewhere there. We went out in the train for Van Surprise trip. Does that far the train go? Yeah, Van Surprise. And we,
the banner land.
yeah. She said, oh, this is all our land here, but I didn't know about them things. And when Dad had been telling us all these things about what happening to them at that time, I said, oh, jolly. You know, when you're a traditional owner, you wear a lot of things, you know. When other people have been sent into the mission and other people, they don't understand what's really going on when you tell them, you know. But when you got the real root like we got now, we still get chopped down from our own lot too. But things are coming all right now, that we are the traditional owner of this land here, you know, GimuyWalubarraYidinji, you know. We're Yidinji tribe, and we will always be there, you know. We want just to walk with us, you know. Come with us and, yeah. I've been flying around with Murmur lately. In an airplane, I get an airplane fly too. Yeah. I'm glad you came along this evening. Yeah. Right.
Thank you.